Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into a very heavy topic, a complex and tragic one, the crash of Air India flight AI-171. Our mission today really is to look past the headlines. We want to explore the minute-by-minute story, look at the official preliminary report, and importantly, weigh some very concerning alternative ideas about what might have actually happened.
Yeah, and we're basing this on a detailed look at the available info, specifically a transcript from the Deshmak channel on YouTube. It gives a really precise timeline and asks some tough questions about that official story.
It's not just about the accident itself, is it? It's about humans, machines, and the huge stakes involved in flying.
Exactly. Understanding all the layers here is, well, it's critical, and it forces you to question those first easy explanations.
Okay, so let's set the scene. June 12, 2025. AI-171 is scheduled for a 1:10 p.m. takeoff from Ahmedabad, headed to Gatwick in London.
Right. A Boeing 787, 230 passengers, 12 crew.
And leading up to it, what were the conditions like? Anything unusual?
No, that's the thing. Everything looked completely normal. The crew passed their breathalyzer tests earlier that morning, around 11:25 a.m.
Okay.
Logs confirmed they hadn't flown in the past 24 hours, so they should have been well rested.
Right.
Weather at Ahmedabad, fine. Visibility, wind, all normal. The plane itself, even loaded with 54,000 liters of fuel, was under its maximum takeoff weight. No dangerous cargo.
Seems routine.
Totally routine.
But
At 1:18 p.m., AI-171 pushed back from Parking Bay 34, headed for the runway. All systems looked green.
and then it all changes incredibly fast. Walk us through takeoff.
Okay, so 1:37 p.m., they get clearance, start the takeoff roll on runway 23.
Uh-huh.
By 1:38 p.m., they're airborne. Just seconds later, literally 42 seconds past 1:38 p.m., the plane hits its maximum recorded speed, 1,180 knots.
Wow.
And immediately after that, this is crucial, the enhanced airborne flight recorders, the EFRs, basically the black boxes.
Right.
They show the fuel supply to both engines, number 1 and number 2, was cut off.
Both at the same time.
Simultaneously, the fuel cutoff switches, they're located right there between the pilots, moved from run to the cutoff position. And this happened in just 1 second.
1 second. And the cockpit voice recorder. What did it tell us about that moment?
It's chilling. You hear one pilot ask the other, "Why did you cut off?"
And the response.
The other pilot says, "I didn't do anything." Just like that. Instant confusion. Not what you'd expect if someone did it on purpose.
No, absolutely not. Tell us about these switches. Are they like easy to knock accidentally?
That's a key point. No, they're not. They're designed specifically not to be easy to move. You use them on the ground after parking, or maybe in a dire emergency like an engine fire in the air.
Okay.
They are spring-loaded. You actually have to lift them up out of a groove before you can move them. Plus, they have guardrails around them.
To prevent exactly this kind of accidental activation.
Precisely. So for both to move together in 1 second, it's extremely unusual. Highly improbable, really, as an accident. Then, just a few seconds later, 1:38 p.m. and 47 seconds, the EFRs show both engines' N2 values. That's a measure of core engine speed.
Engine power, basically.
Yeah, engine power dropping below minimum idle. Big power loss. And the RAT, the ram air turbine, starts deploying to give them emergency power.
The pilots must have been reacting instantly. What did they do?
They were. Desperately. At 1:38 p.m. and 52 seconds, so just 5 seconds after the power cut, the switch for engine number 1 is moved back. From cutoff to run.
Trying to restart it.
Exactly. And then 4 seconds after that, 1:38 and 56 seconds, engine number 2's switch is also flipped back to run.
So they're trying everything. What happens when they restore the fuel?
And this is just the most tragic part. As soon as those switches went back to run, the plane's computer system, the FAEC,
The Full Authority Digital Engine Control.
right, it automatically tries to relight both engines. It starts the whole sequence, and you can see it working, partially. The exhaust gas temperature, the EGT, starts rising for both engines.
So they were reigniting.
They were reigniting, the turbines were spooling up again. For engine number 1, the core speed actually stopped decelerating. It was starting to recover.
Okay.
But engine number 2, even though it was relighting, its core speed just kept dropping. It couldn't recover in time.
I know.
And the thing is, if they just had a bit more altitude, maybe a few hundred meters more,
Yeah.
even if only engine 1 had fully recovered, they could have potentially landed safely. A 787 can land on one engine, but they just didn't have the height or the time.
Altitude and time. The two things they needed most.
Exactly.
And the final call.
At 1:39 p.m. and 5 seconds, they made the Mayday, Mayday, Mayday call.
It's already too late.
Far too late. 6 seconds after that call, 1:39 p.m. and 11 seconds, the EFR recording just stopped.
The plane crashed.
Became a fireball, 270 lives lost. The worst disaster in Indian aviation history.
Unbelievable. So the aftermath, intense scrutiny, obviously.
Yeah.
And then a month later, the government releases a preliminary report. But you said it just raised more questions.
It really did. There was no press conference, no questions taken, just the report release.
Which is unusual in itself.
Very. And it just fueled the rumors and questions, especially why the fuel was cut to both engines. The report did rule out some things, to be fair.
Like what?
No fuel contamination. Flat settings were normal, 5 degrees for takeoff. Landing gear was down, as expected at that stage. No bird strike, no weather issues.
Okay. And the pilots?
Credentials were fine, medically fit, both experience on the 787. The plane's weight and balance were okay, too.
So it rules out a lot of the sort of standard causes.
Right. But it gets back to those fuel cutoff switches. This extraordinary event, both moving together in 1 second. And what did the report say about recommended actions for Boeing or the engines?
What did it say?
It said, and I quote, "At this stage of investigation, there is no recommended actions for Boeing 787- and/or other GE engines."
No recommended actions after that.
Exactly. That's where things get really, really contentious.
And you mentioned some Western media quickly jumped on pilot error, despite that cockpit recording.
Yeah, and that's a critical point our source raises, how quickly blame can get assigned, especially when you have a massive company like Boeing potentially implicated.
Right. Reputations are on the line.
Huge reputations and multi-billion-dollar contracts. It's often simpler, maybe, to blame the pilots, especially when they can't defend themselves, rather than dig into complex mechanical issues or, conspiracy theories about sabotage or something else.
Our source isn't ruling out pilot error entirely, though.
No, not ruling it out, but strongly cautioning against jumping to that conclusion, particularly if warning signs were maybe ignored or downplayed.
Okay, so the report confirms the switch is moved, but it doesn't say how. Mechanical failure. Electrical. Software glitch.
Precisely. It doesn't state the cause of the switch movement, and without cockpit cameras, which aren't standard, there's no definitive visual proof of what happened in that 1 second. Did a hand move them? Did something else cause them to move? We don't know for sure from the report.
That silence is, well, it's loud, isn't it?
It really is.
And was there anything else, any history with this specific aircraft our sources flagged?
Yes. And this is potentially significant. On its previous flight from Delhi to Ahmedabad, the crew flying that leg reported a fault code.
Okay.
It related to the Stabilizer Position Sensor, STAB POS-X DCR. That's a sensor involved in controlling the plane's pitch. It's up and down movement.
So a flight control sensor issue.
Right. Air India said they fixed it and troubleshot the issue. But, if one sensor system had a reported problem, could others, like, say, the sensors or wiring related to those fuel switches? It raises a flag.
Did that connect to anything else? Any broader warnings?
It leads directly to a really critical document,
Yeah.
an FAA Special Airworthiness Information Bulletin.
Yeah.
SAIB, they call them. This one was from December 17th, 2018.
Okay, 2018, what did it say?
It revealed that Boeing had received reports from airlines operating its 737s at their fuel control switches.
The same type of switches.
The same type, yeah. Also used on the 787. They were being found installed with their locking feature disengaged.
Whoa. Okay, explain that locking feature again and why it matters if it's disengaged.
So the lock is the safety mechanism. It forces you to physically lift the switch toggle up before you can slide it from run to cut off. It's a deliberate two-step action.
Right. Prevents accidental bumps.
Exactly. But if that locking feature is disengaged, maybe due to faulty installation or wear, the switch can just be moved directly, flicked across, without lifting.
Making it much easier to move accidentally.
Vastly easier. Maybe even by vibration or a pilot's arm brushing against it during a high-stress moment like takeoff. And the FAA bulletin explicitly stated the potential consequence: in-flight engine shutdown.
The exact thing that happened here. But how did Boeing communicate this? Was it a mandatory fix?
And this is, well, you could say shrewd or maybe concerning, depending on your perspective. The bulletin was just a recommendation. It wasn't an airworthiness directive, which would mandate action.
Because it wasn't required.
No. It basically tells airlines, hey, we've seen this issue, you should check your switches. But it doesn't force them to. Boeing could later say, we told you so. If you didn't check, that's on you.
And did Air India check or replace the switch on this specific plane?
According to the source, no. Because it wasn't mandatory, that specific check or replacement wasn't done on this aircraft's fuel switches, even though other parts like engines had been replaced more recently.
So the possibility of a faulty switch, a mechanical issue, maybe an electrical short, is very much on the table.
Absolutely. It's at least as plausible as pilot error, given the switch design, the prior FAA warning, and the pilot's recorded confusion. It opens up a whole different avenue.
What has the reaction been from, say, pilot groups in India?
Strong concerns. The Indian Pilot Association, according to our source, criticized the investigation for being secretive, for not consulting pilots properly. They felt the leaked report focused too much on pilot error and really downplayed this potential problem with the switch itself.
And you mentioned earlier this whole situation. It echoes the Boeing 737 MAX issues, doesn't it?
It really does draw uncomfortable parallels. With the MAX, you had the MCIS system, a flight control software feature that wasn't fully disclosed to pilots, leading to confusion and ultimately 2 horrific crashes.
And the information came out fully only after the second crash.
Right. So the question becomes, is there a pattern here? The source asks, essentially, has a faulty sensor or switch caused a crash before, especially during a critical phase like takeoff? And with the MAX, the answer was tragically yes. Could this be similar?
So the recommendation from our source, based on all this, is pretty clear then.
Very clear. They argue all 787 fuel switches need thorough testing, which directly contradicts that preliminary report saying no action required and claiming all the hardware and software is fine.
The way the report dismisses the switch issue, it does seem suspicious, especially given Boeing's history.
It does raise that question. Is this secrecy, this quick leaning towards pilot error, potentially part of covering up a systemic flaw? Blame the deceased pilots, wait and see if another crash happens before addressing the root cause. It's a deeply concerning possibility.
This whole deep dive, it really highlights that razor's edge between human factors and complex system failures in aviation. It's rarely just one thing, is it?
Almost never. And when official reports come out, it's just so important to read between the lines, to question what's not being said as much as what is. Critical thinking is just essential here. The human element matters, but so does the engineering and the corporate responsibility behind it.
So, thinking about all this, what really stands out to you, the listener? How do you balance that possibility of human error against a potential systemic flaw, especially when the outcome is so utterly devastating? We hope you keep asking those tough questions, stay curious, and really think about what goes into ensuring safety in the skies.